Alright guys, Tactical here back again today, hopefully enjoying your Sunday so far, and today we have to talk about yesterday's action at the Florida home series. So many great matches, but also this first series, a really controversial turn of events in the very first map of the day. You could argue it's not even controversial given that pretty much everyone in the community agrees on what should have happened in this map, but in fact the CDL referees decided that the other thing would happen. We'll talk about that today, why the decision is so ridiculous in my opinion, and why going forwards the CDL really needs to kind of rectify these issues, because it doesn't look good from a competition standpoint. The players aren't happy about it, the fans aren't happy about it. I don't really think anyone benefits from this decision apart from Atlanta FaZe, and even they didn't want it to happen, as we will talk about. So let's get into things then. 6 series to discuss, and of course tonight Championship Sunday concludes. Only 4 teams remain. Also big thank you to Cam Allen for the scoreboards we will discuss, as I've talked about before, and let's hop right into things then. So first series of the day, London Royal Ravens, Atlanta FaZe. The very first map, before it even started, we had this on screen. They brought up the face cams. You can see the London guys are kind of ready to go, but Scraps, where's he gone? Why is he not in his face cam? We get into the first game, and guess what happens? Scraps isn't there, at least like he's in the game, but the London guys start shooting bodies, or like shooting their teammates, because it's a 4v5, the player isn't even there, and like, you know, what's the point playing in a map in that situation? However, the game goes on, they go down like 100-0, and it seems like they get told by someone, and Scraps eventually comes back, that look, we have to play out the rest of this game. For some reason it's not going to get restarted, and they play out the rest of the game and lose 250 to 100 or so. Obviously pretty tough mentally to get back into a spot like that, and indeed the rest of the series, even though they did bounce back in the search and destroy. So what exactly has happened here? Let's go through some of the tweets. So this was the first one from Scraps. League is an absolute joke. Got told broadcast will be between 5 and 10 minutes. You're only allowed to have the black Mountain Dew water bottle on stream due to the sponsorship arrangement. Me being the good person I am, I emptied my water to fill up that bottle, so we left for a couple of minutes, and this is the key tweet, right? Because let's say, for example, that Scraps had said he was ready to go, he dipped for a couple of minutes, and, you know, he wasn't back in time for the game to start. In that instance, like, okay, fair enough, just play out the rest of the game because it was Scraps' fault for not being back in time, but you look at this one, ref asked, are we ready to go? I didn't reply. Whole team asked him 15 times when it started to restart because I wasn't here. No, you gotta play. Trying to help the CDL out by advertising what they asked us to use. So look, there's many more things to discuss here. The ref told us the broadcast will be in 5 to 10 minutes. I got up and filled up my bottle. This is of course his perspective, and this is where it becomes just outrageous for me, right? Because look, if you're gonna have in the rules that look, if all 5 players are in the lobby or all 10 players are in the lobby, then the game starts no matter what, then that, okay, fair enough, you can have that as a rule, I'm not too mad about that. But the Crowder situation here is just where it gets ridiculous to me. So we can't do anything about that start when it comes to a replay or anything, so the map stands. That's super lame. Crowder, of course, the coach of Atlanta FaZe. Atlanta FaZe didn't want this map to go ahead. They were quite happy to replay the game. Now, supposedly, the Atlanta FaZe guys got told middle of the map. I imagine Crowder got told that, look, this is being played out, you've got to play on. And the Atlanta FaZe couldn't do anything about it. But why, if they're talking to players mid-map and the referees are there available to speak to them, why isn't Crowder being talked to, just saying, like, look, Crowder, do you want to replay this? Because it should be available as an option, right? If the team is benefiting from this decision, they should have the opportunity to overrule it if they would like. It seems outrageous to me, the fact that the CDL has a ruling, which, okay, fair enough, it might be a good ruling just to put a solid, like, a stone in place, but if the opposition decides, look, we don't want this to go ahead and we're quite happy to replay because we don't want to take a free win, the fans don't want to see a free win, and it's not competitive, the competitive integrity for London side just isn't there, we're quite happy to replay, but it still can't happen somehow, which is just, honestly, it's just ridiculous to me. And as Joey Nubsy says, I assure you, my roster would not be playing the rest of this series. Dylan CoD's going to have to publish a book soon. I'm convinced it'll be a bestseller with how hard we've been trolled. Play OGLA or Paris later on. Later on, there was even another game that was ended. Slightly different situation because I think one of the players didn't get into the lobby, which is why it's slightly different. But then again, it does seem some sort of inconsistent rulings. And as Scrap says here, we told the ref 20 times in the game when everyone was stood still not moving. Then we go 80 down. And he comes on the headset and he says, you do know this game isn't getting ended, guys. Also, the countdown was happening. The boys were shouting the ref and he wasn't even on the headset. 10 seconds later, why are you team killing? Why are you not playing? So just outrageous stuff. And then Clayster replies with this. I'm not trying to expose the refs because I'm sure they actually had some downtime, but this was a screenshot I took from the first Dallas home series. Particular referee played escape from Tarkov. And, you know, to be fair, he does follow up by, because someone replies saying that that referee actually wasn't on duty. beauty of that event. And as Clayster says, like, the two refs playing games weren't actually working the weekend, so fair enough. But, you know, as Scrap says, right, if the referee isn't even going to be on the headset when the game is starting, when something's going down, it's not ideal, and just a ridiculous situation. I'm intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Far from ideal. I would wish we didn't have to talk about this situation, to be quite honest with you. But the series does end in a 3-1 fashion. Royal Ravens do win the Search and Destroy. Some people would say that Atlanta FaZe kind of threw it to let London back in the series, but to be honest, I've seen a lot of mistakes from FaZe on that map anyway. But they win the rest of the series. The Dom was close, the hardpoint wasn't too close at the end of the day. FaZe get through in a 3-1 fashion, as I expected them to, but let's not talk about that map number 1 more than we have to. Series 2 of the day, Roca Ultra, and Ultra continue their reign of terror. They win this one in a 3-1 fashion. Map number 1, they lose the game to Piccadilly, but the respawns were fantastic from Ultra, and this is what's super impressive. They're a good search and destroy team. Their Piccadilly search is pretty strong, is the Toronto Ultras, but their respawn game today was on another level. Classic was going off, as we'll see in this final scoreboard right here. Like, Classic with a 1.1, Methods with a 1.6 over the course of the series. He's had a pretty good season so far. In this series, he just took over the scene, and Minnesota Roca winning that first series 3-0 against the Florida Mutineers. I expected from there, they're like, okay, fair enough, they might be the two best teams in this bracket, they're going to get out over the Ultra, but they get the job done. Ultra move on clean to the winners semi-finals, or to actual bracket play. Really impressive run by them, and as we'll talk about their opposition later, one of two teams that we really wouldn't be expecting to get to the grand finals, in my opinion, are going to be there. So Ultra really turning up, super impressive. This Hackney Yard domination as well, like real ice in their veins, to be honest, winning that in a very clutch fashion 2 days in a row now. Then we go on to OGLA Paris. This was a knockout match, of course, and OGLA get it done in a 3-1 fashion. Really close couple of maps, game 1 and game 2. We'll see this as a very key trend. You know, map 1 and map 2 being very, very close, but the domination they walk away with. So OGLA getting into their stride here. Clearly, Kenny getting over some of the issues he had with the internet yesterday, as we see with the final scoreboard here. He has a 1.1 pretty much, but the rest of the guys performing pretty well. And as Kenny said later in the day, the vibes with Chino now on the squad are pretty much unmatched. And once again, we see on the Paris Legion side, very, you know, huge variability in their slaying, which is a pretty common theme you'll see from teams that don't do so well. Really good teams, they tend to have pretty consistent slaying across the squad. So this is something that's pretty good sign, to be honest, for OGLA. No one going off on the main stage, but, you know, Slasher at a 1.2, Chino pretty much at a 1.0. So impressive stuff from OGLA, and they keep on rolling. And then Florida, New York Subliners. This was a great series, to be honest. This game number 1, Subliners won. Then the game 2 was really where Mutineers just threw it away, and they had a really torrid weekend, right? Lose their first series to Roca, then they play the Mutineers, they throw away I'm pretty sure it was a 4-0 lead, it was definitely a 2-5 deficit in this one. Subliners win it in a 6-5 fashion and close it out in a 3-0. So Mutineers with a horrible weekend at their home series, going 0 for 2 on the weekend. Tough pool, of course, but at the same time, seems like Toronto Ultra are just rocking it right now, beating the Roca and the Subliners, who took out the Mutineers. So fair play. Clearly Toronto Ultra are much improved, but no one's really calling them onliners, to my understanding. But yeah, Subliners with a 3-0 in this one. Dominant slaying. I mean, Mac was just going off, especially in this domination, or maybe it was the domination in the second series actually, where yeah, I think it was the domination on the gun runner where he was really just crushing it. Search and destroy in the hard point here was a really Mac's you know, top form. He was just going off. It was great to watch that day. Then we have OGLA versus London again, so a rematch from day number 1. OGLA take this one in a pretty swift 3-0 fashion. I was impressed by them. 250-199. The first map was very close for a time. Royal Ravens lose another really, really close Hazir Cave hardpoint. But yeah, pretty much they closed it out again. OGLA do. The Search and Destroy was very powerful from them. And yeah, 2 3-0s for the day for OpTic Gaming. So they clearly are finding something of a stride right here. And as you can see, OGLA, Chino doesn't have the best KD. Kenny has a fantastic series though, as does TJ, right? And if you're getting action out of TJ and Kenny, those are the two key guys you want to see turn up, because those are the names that should be doing super well on this team, but haven't really performed so far this season. If Chino is enabling them to do that, then he's pretty happy sitting here at a 0.75 if the rest of his team is going to go off like this. So yeah, impressive 3-0 from the OpTic Gaming Los Angeles. Tough day for Royal Ravens, of course, the way it started and the way it finished. But we move on to the final series of the day, that being Subliners versus the Minnesota Roca. And this was a crazy series. Another 3-0, but just unbelievable map 1 and 2. I'll have to share a couple of clips for you guys on stream right here. Game 1, Ramaza hardpoint, 250 to 249. You can't make this stuff up. Absolutely down to the wire. Over towards that P5 area, they were just doing damage, were the Subliners. They closed it out in an impressive fashion, 250 to 249. And then the game 2, it just got ridiculous, right? It was super back and forth. Minnesota Rocket just threw away an incredible round when Temp won a 1v4. Don't know what the hell they were thinking, to be honest. They planted the bomb. Temp gets the first kill. Okay, Temp gets the first kill on the bomb guy. That's fine. We have the information now. Let's just make sure we get control of top so we can plant safely, right? Like, that obviously is the step 2, but they allow him just to go back to top, kill the guy defusing the bomb again. Then they try and rotate it to B. Kind of a clever idea to try and bait him out with the movements and whatever, but Tim wins the gunfight. He probably shouldn't be winning, and then clutches up with the beatdown onto Assault to finish off the job. Like, that just should never happen. And then in the final round, Silly got kind of caught in no man's land. He ends up losing the gunfight to Mac, and Mac closes it out as well. So yeah, ridiculous situation, losing 2 maps this close. Rocker just can't seem to close anything out, and then they lose the domination as well in a pretty close fashion. So tough day for Rocker, losing to Ultra, and then they get beat aside really by the Subliners in a series that shouldn't have been a 3-0 to be honest, but at the same time, you've got the clutch factor, you're going to get the job done. So Minnesota Rocket clearly didn't have it today. They go out in a pretty poor performance on the whole. Got a Rex in a scene with tough series, and Mac once again, especially that domination, he went like 30 and 17 or something, just proving that he's a really solid player right now. And Temp not even having the best series, but yeah, he clutched up when it mattered in that search and destroy. So this is the bracket we're looking at tonight. These matches will go ahead. OpTic Gaming Los Angeles, Toronto Ultra, Subliners, FaZe. I predicted this bottom series to be the semi-final. The top one, of course, I was nowhere close. I did not expect Ultra to be here. Did not expect OpTic Gaming to be here, although it's not, it wasn't completely out of the question. But yeah, really impressive stuff. Ultra have looked great, but OpTic Gaming are coming off the back of 2 hot 3-0s. Still probably going to say Toronto are slight favourites in this one, given the teams that they have beaten to get to this point are probably slightly higher caliber. But, you can't take anything away from OpTic. Have looked much better. And then Subliners FaZe. I'd be surprised if this doesn't go to a game 5. I think Subliners respawn has been fantastic, and it may well come down to the clutch factor, right? If Subliners can do it again, they're going to do some damage here, and the search and destroy is a key, because if FaZe can, capitalize on their search and destroy and win both of them, or at least win game 2 and potentially game 5 as they did the last time these two teams matched up, I imagine FaZe take it. But if somehow Subliners can win that game 2, I think Subliners win this series, and then whoever comes to the grand final, we will have to see. Still going to take FaZe overall in my prediction, but I imagine a couple of game 5s could potentially go down here. Going to be a really exciting championship Sunday ahead of us. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like if you did, subscribe if you are new as always. Thanks to Midnight.com for sponsoring today's content. Stay safe. I'll see you next time.